Sandra all the time is here with a cold heart truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama to call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you. All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, Hump Day Wednesday. We are halfway through the week already. Oh, I'm feeling congested this morning. My apologies. I was desperately looking for some allergy tablets, something that wouldn't make me drowsy for the day, honey child, because we gotta get a lot done today, so we can't afford to fall asleep. Unlike some of our representatives, if we fall asleep on the job, we are in trouble. Yes, honey child, we might get fired around here. So, how is everyone doing? Yeah, I just woke up this morning feeling really, really congested. I haven't done my nasal irrigation in a minute, so I think I need to do that anyway. I've been saying to myself, you were doing good with it, and then, feeling so much better, and you stopped. Human beings, that's what we do, honey child. We know what's good for us, right? But it's keeping it up. That's a whole other shebang. So I'm going to restart again because I really do think it helps a lot. I've not had very many issues, I think, in the last year. Even when other people around me were having issues, I was good. So I'm going to work on getting that back on track. After the show, I will do it. Oh my goodness, sorry. I'm going to have some tea this morning, see if that helps me a little bit. How's everybody doing? My goodness, I'm so sorry. Happy Wednesday. All right. Interesting show yesterday. And after the show, I had people calling and messaging to say to me about Heroes Day. I mean, people are really upset about what went down for Heroes Day. First of all, they honored Mr. Hamady from Tortuga, did not invite his wife. Wow. Lord Jesus, take the wheel. Miss Carlene, who you could argue is, the brainchild and the recipe maker, since it was her family recipe, behind Tortuga rum cakes, the original Tortuga rum cakes. I don't know if they changed the formula, but she's it. And boy, she has been retired, and some people in her circle say this poor woman has been discarded now, that people think she's of no use to them anymore. Really sad situation that the organizers of the Heroes Day event would have been honoring her late husband and did not invite her. My God, I honestly can't even imagine what she must be thinking and how she must be feeling. As women, we start industries. A lot of times we are the brainchild behind operations, and it's still the men who are taking the credit for it, whether they earned it or not. And I'm not by any means saying that he didn't, and he was an integral part of the success of the company, but his wife should have at least gotten an invitation to them honoring him. She was there, from what I understand. I don't know either one of them personally, but, I've always known that she was there at the thick of it, helping to run that company and make that organization. That was a team effort. Make that organization what we know of it today. And then to get the name wrong was another shocking disclosure. Apparently, they put the son's name, like they used his middle name. So I guess he has a different middle name than his father. And so they actually put the son's middle name instead of the father's proper name. So they just got the name wrong. That's not his name. Imagine that. And then on top of that, someone else messaged me and said, hold on a second, Sandy. When did criminals start to get awards at this event? And I was like, what? So they pointed out someone from East End, and I don't know the people them from East End, So let me say that disclosure. I'm trying to verify who he is before I put up a post about it. But they said, yeah, Sandy, this guy has a criminal record for drugs. He does not even live in Cayman anymore. And apparently he was awarded some sort of certificate yesterday as well. I thought to myself, Lord Jesus, what next? Ay. So I was shocked by that. They sent me a picture and they gave his name. So I'm going to try to verify who this person is. So, yep, that's what's going on at Heroes Day, in addition to MPs falling asleep at the job. What a hot mess. What a hot mess indeed. So, I mean, I honestly don't know what else to say. It's it's shocking to me, really, quite frankly. And they said, I know, right? It was shocked when the picture was shared with me today. He's an East Ender, but he doesn't live here anymore, only visits. And when did the criteria for being recognized get downgraded? We're now recognizing drug dealers as heroes. Wow, please make it make sense. And then another person, I don't even think they listened to the show. They said to me, hold on one second here. Somebody said, send me the picture. I don't know who he is. Yes, honey child, you know everybody. This other person said to me yesterday, I'm going to read to you what they said. They said, hi, Sandra. Did every man and their dog get an award just because they or someone they knew submitted their name? And I think some people didn't even have their name submitted. The MPs were just like, oh, it's election time. Let's just put everybody in there. So I replied and said, seems so, my dear. And then they talked about a family with their award for working Cayman for over 20 years. What the blickety blick else would they, where the blickety blick else they going to work? So they got nominated for working. Well, y'all know that's down John area. Because, if you show up to work, you're a hero. Yeah. They said, I'm glad I wasn't nominated for my works. I would feel so hollow. I thought it was about going above and beyond and doing things of great importance, etc. So I don't know. I don't know. Somebody mentioned somebody else who was arrested for drugs multiple times. It's just a hot mess. Really and truly. So there you have it, watering down the whole thing to the point where you have people who, don't even want to, show up to these events because they're like, no. Ay. Caramba. All right. United States of America in a hot mess. Apparently, honey child, what on earth is going on with my camera? Apparently, Trump and Elon Musk are already fighting with each other. Hold on. I need to close up my app. 1 second for me. So the two of them are already fighting. And the White House saying to ignore Elon, that Trump is he's the businessman that knows what's going on, not Elon. It was only a matter of time. Trust and believe. And it's going to get worse. I heard this morning that Miami International Airport was a hot mess. because of the situation with Colombia. So they're fighting with Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump starts a couple wars while he's in with countries as well as, you know, God knows what else. Oh, America. Well, you asked for it. You voted him in. You wanted it. So I'm actually going to try to figure out a way to get my Amazon orders here without having to go to America too often. And, wish America the best for the next 4 years. Because here's the thing about it. I honestly believe that the only way that anybody can learn from experiences sometimes is by having the full and frank fallout from it. So America needs to come to its knees, and it will. In the next 4 years, the amount of chaos already in the first week is astonishing. And so I have no doubt that that chaos will continue. And, I'm not wishing America any bad, but anybody with half a brain can see exactly what's going to take place. And so you wanted it. Now you got it. Now you got to live with it for 4 years, unless, heaven forbid, the good Lord steps in and deals with him. That's always a possibility because he's not the healthiest person in the world. So yeah. Otherwise, the entire world has to put up with this foolishness for the next 4 years. And there'll be lots of lessons for America to learn. And so I, for one, they're necessary. And so, you know, bring it on is all I say. Just don't mess with my Amazon orders. Let me be able to get my little shipments now. And we'll be good, America. Good luck to you. Keep on keeping on, honey child. He is firing all federal agents, 2 million of them, offering them a package if they retire or leave under his terms and conditions. So Justice Department fired, people gone. He's freezing and doing layoffs against federal employees. And so he says that he will offer them a package if they do it his way. So it's a whole situation. You guys got to read up on it and see exactly what this means. And if you are a professional and you know anything about change management, whether you agree with his policies or not, that this isn't even the point right now. If you know anything about change management, the one thing that you know is you don't do what Trump is doing right now, which is you don't go in there with these sweeping changes overnight where everything is an upheaval. It's not like he has said, right, let me get one thing sorted out at a time. He's throwing everything into the mix. He says, okay, we're making sweeping arrests. His goal, I think, is over 1,200 people a day in all major US cities. He is going to overhaul the economy. He's going to just do everything one time. And so right now, Miami Airport, I understand, is in a hot mess because of the situation with Colombia. And that's one of the busiest airports in the world, actually. I didn't realize how busy Miami International Airport was until recently, when we were there in December. Gigi decided that she was going to try counting all the planes. So she started counting every single plane that she saw in the sky, and they all go over, anywhere you're in Miami, you can see the planes. And she must have counted over 100. And of course, we knew that that wasn't anything compared to the thousands that actually travel in and out of Miami International every single day. It is, I think, maybe the second or third busiest international airport in the world. And so to have that airport in any sort of an upheaval has a trickle-down effect on everyone, not just one or two airlines, potentially. So that's a mess this morning. And so he's doing a lot immediately, almost like someone who is manic. And like I was saying, if you've worked in the business world for a minute, you know that change management it's a whole area of study by itself, quite frankly. And the one thing that you do when you become a new owner, a new manager of a department or whatever, you move with a slower pace. And you know, you take your time. In other words, it's one of the tenets of change management. You don't go in there and just uproot every single thing. So now there are questions about funding for agencies like Meals on Wheels that feeds millions of people across America. Children in schools no longer have access to free lunches. Medicare, which again is impacting millions of Americans who supported Trump, by the way, a lot of them would have voted for him. Now they're at risk of having their benefits like stop immediately. So there are courts and appeals flying all over the place as people are trying to stop all the stuff that he's doing, because they're just like, oh my God, this is madness. This is crazy. How can you just stop funding with no warning, no nothing? You know, it's not about transitioning in a logical way. It's just absolutely unbelievable. So he had basically put a federal spending freeze in. Already this morning, a federal judge has blocked this because a lot of what he's doing isn't legal, or there's a big question mark over it. Even the whole birthright citizenship thing, that will be challenged, I believe successfully challenged as well. So the courts are going to be very busy with this man, undoubtedly. And so, yes, a federal judge has stopped, temporarily blocked him from imposing a sweeping pause on trillions of dollars in federal spending, which was capping a frantic, this is what the media says, day of disruption to government programs that fund schools, provide housing, ensure low-income Americans have access to health care. The order prevented the new restrictions from taking effect until at least February the 3rd, buy-in time for a coalition of public health advocates, nonprofits, and businesses to proceed with a case that may test Trump's claims of expansive power over the nation's fiscal trajectory. So he is doing things that nobody else has dreamed of doing, and he is expanding his power in a way that a lot of people say is shocking and is like a dictator, even to the point where he wants to have a third term. So he's saying he's going to change the law where he can be eligible for a third term. And there you go. You threw out the very tenets of the U.S. Constitution that has been in place for how many hundreds of years? So right now, people watching this situation are using words like wave of chaos and confusion in Washington, where few appear to understand the scope and intention of a White House memo that had directed agencies to temporarily pause, that was the wording, temporarily pause the disbursement of key federal funds. So even before it took effect at 5 p.m., thousands of government services, many dedicated to America's health, safety, and well-being, appeared to be at risk of a shutdown, at least temporarily. And so Medicaid was one of those programs. The Head Start program for children, child care services at financial risk, Meals on Wheels, who receives funding, charter schools, Special Olympics, after school programs, all of the things that help keep Americans, a lot of Americans on the right path in their life, he's going to cancel and then complain about crime afterwards, no doubt. So it forced the White House yesterday to try to explain and clarify by midday what this was all about. In a second directive, the Office of Management and Budget said it sought only to bring spending in line with the president's recent executive orders. So clamping down on foreign aid, funding for diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, which Trump called radical and wasteful. So, lots of conflicting muddled instructions. made it very, very confusing. So, I kind of say on the one hand, um, this is going to be crazy, but on the other hand, let him go ahead and do it. You know, they said they haven't seen this type of upheaval since 1974, where the White House temporarily delayed federal funds. Only certain procedures were met and conditions followed. And this is obviously a very, very different situation. So crazy is a low key word for what is happening over there. And like I said, him and his colleague now, Elon Musk, are already at it within the first week of his administration. So good luck, America. I pray for my American family and friends. Buckle your seatbelt. It's going to be an interesting 4 years. We'll get into more details, but we've got a guest who is joining us this morning to talk about our own issues, something very, very important to the people of the Cayman Islands. So I'd like to welcome Miss Felicia McLean into the studio. Good morning, Miss Felicia. How are you?
Morning, I'm good. And you?
I'm doing really well. Well, my voice doesn't sound the best, but otherwise I'm good.
No worries, I hear you.
Yeah, so wanted to touch bases with you this morning because you have been very, very busy making some strides in your new position, which you took over. I think it was a completely new position created, right?
Correct, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were in that post from last year. And so one of the amazing things that you guys are looking at is around nursing studies. So this is good. I liked this when I saw this come through. I thought, oh, wow, this is fantastic news, actually. So let's talk a little bit about what this 2025 nursing research study is all about coming out of the Ministry of Health.
Yeah, so upon getting my job a year ago, one of the things I was tasked with was how do we look at raising the profession of nursing in the Cayman Islands? And out of doing that, I decided the first step would be to create a key nursing stakeholder group, which allowed me to bring together key leaders in nursing from Health City HSA, the Nursing Midwifery Council, the Nursing Association, Ponciana, Public Health, all the different ones. So we've got, I think, a group of about 12 of us that meet on a monthly basis. And looking at the nursing profession, we said, what was the best way to start to address that concern? And we recognize that there's never been a nursing study done in the Cayman Islands. We've never gone to the nurses and said, what do you guys think? And so we decided we would do a research study with the nurses so that we could best see what they see as the barriers to career development within the Cayman Islands for nurses, and also what they think the solutions are. So that's kind of how this came about. I didn't want to assume I knew what it was, what was the issues, and I didn't want to assume I knew all the answers, and neither did any of us. So we said, let's do this Delphi study because of it's a really good study that you can do that has 100% anonymity. There's no identifying markers in there. You're not giving us your name, where you work, or any of those things. It allows us to gather that information and then come up with a concise overview of what it is we think are the issues, and then how we're going to go about trying to solve them.
All right, so let's get into the details of what the Delphi study is, and certainly how people can participate. So we kind of understand the reason why it was sort of a brainchild idea.
Yeah,
I think it's great, really, because as you rightfully said, you may have your own understanding. I know obviously you've been working in the medical profession, but you might have your own understanding, but your understanding might be unique and different to that of other people. So it's important to get general consensus, if you will, of what is actually happening in the field of nursing.
That's what we thought was useful. It's never been done, so it was a good time to touch base with our other colleagues and see what they're thinking. But the Delphi study in general, we're doing a 3-round study. So round 1 is where we ask people, what do they think are it? So they'll give us a minimum of 5 suggestions that they think are the barriers to career development, and then 5 solutions to the problem. And then from there, there'll be a round 2 where they're allowed to then rate based on what everyone's put in. We're going to list them all there, and then we say, tell us that top 10, what you think it is. And then round 3 is honing it in just a little bit more and saying, okay, now these are where we got of them. What was the number, the top 10 and the top of problems and the top 10 solutions. Now let's look at it and see what are your top 5. And from there, we should be able to come up with our top 5 issues to career development and our top 5 solutions. Because, for someone, like you said, we all differ. Someone might say, well, I'm a mom, a single mom, and this is why I can't, go off to school because there's nothing on island to do and there's not necessarily a lot of support. Someone else might say, I'm happy to travel if I had funds to do so, if I knew I could get a job when I come back and I didn't have to worry about my job being gone by the time I go, there was a career advancement within my department. If I even understood what I needed to do to go to the next level, maybe it's I don't have a mentor, maybe it's I'm not quite sure what it is I have to do to then go from being a regular nurse to a senior to a leader to, the chief nursing officer. What does that look like? We want to look at developing that. We want to ensure that our hospitals and our providers on island all are encouraging our nurses and finding a pathway that we can all continue to strive to be better and move up with a better understanding. Because I find like for me, for sure, going through mine, as I was mentioning yesterday, I kind of knew where you wanted to go, but you didn't know what you needed to do to accomplish it. And then you didn't necessarily have someone behind you saying, come on, let's go. This job is going to come available in 5 years. If you went off and you did this other degree or this other qualification, then you're going to put yourself in the running for it. I was blessed to learn on the job and had support, but not necessarily the guidance. So I'm really hoping that all the nurses that are working currently in the Cayman Islands and registered here will take the time to click on that link and complete the survey, round 1, round 2, and then round 3, so that we can have, informed data that allows us to then map out where we're going to go to really improve the profession at large here in Cayman.
Okay, very good. Well, this is interesting. So have some comments already coming in as people are listening. So one person basically said that they feel that a lot of barriers are actually individuals who are here to compete with Caymanians. And so, they themselves kind of put barriers in place so that Caymanians in particular end up leaving the profession because they're trying to secure their own job future. But this is one of the things that if people participate in the survey, they're able to share those experiences. Like we've had an enormous amount of complaints about people, for example, at HSA who've left because of nursing professionals who've been there for umpteen years, who have left because of a single individual. So now, if you're one of those people, this is going to be your opportunity. So does it have to be someone who is currently in the nursing profession, but if they worked in the nursing profession before, can they also, like if they were pushed out already, can they also give feedback? Who's it limited to?
It is unfortunately limited to those living and working in the Cayman Islands. So they may not be at HSA or doctors, but they do need to be living and working, because we feel like those people are currently experiencing those barriers, and we want to hear from them at this point in time. That's kind of what it is. It's kind of like a starting point. We may end up doing more depending on what we find from here. But the idea right now is currently living and working here, and what are those barriers? But I do hear you. I mean, people have had that issue where you felt like before that the person above you wasn't encouraging you. They might have been hiring people from other jurisdictions, because we don't have enough nurses here, and it felt like another entity may be being favored over you. Whatever it may be. I mean, and that may not be the major issue. That may be just part of it. Like I said, being able to work and go to school or get study leave while you're working the time off but being paid, that may be an issue. So really, really keen to see what people put in the survey. And where that consensus ends up being as the major barriers to career advancement. And I just want to take a moment to clarify again, because in the beginning, when we started getting some of these results back, which is why we decided to jump on the radio and try to provide some clarification, is career development is not just continuing education. As a medical professional, we do yearly continuing education, which is just going to a conference and learning about something in an hour or two and getting 1 or 2 hours here or there. But career advancement is when you're actually going to take a course and advance your skill set, so that you become certified as something else, or you get another degree as a nurse practitioner, or you get a master's in leadership or healthcare administration. Like those are your career development. So it's actually going to help take you from being one qualification to another.
Very good. So folks, if you've got any questions for our guest this morning, Miss Felicia McLean, the CNO, please feel free to give us a call. 936-2626 is the telephone number. And of course, you can send your comments via WhatsApp as well. So this person makes the following comment. They say that the barriers erected by people who come here is quite real. You should hear the blinkety blink that goes on at Doctors Hospital. So it seems like a lot of institutions here, you know, have accusations of people coming in and getting preferential treatment, promotions, and, you know, kind of doing like a blockade against Caymanians in particular who are in the nursing and medical profession, generally speaking. So good morning, Paul, joining us from Bermuda. He said he's going to sit in the back of the classroom and listen today. It'll be a good educational session, no doubt.
Yeah. And I hear the concerns. And I'm as I said, I'm really interested to see if those pop out, because unfortunately we're nowhere near having enough Caymanian nurses to meet our need. So we do need to bring other people from other jurisdictions in. And with that comes a lot of good as well, because they're coming with their expertise and their understanding and that regard. So everything comes together and makes it better in my opinion. And so it's useful. And we do want to have enough people on island interested in career development so that it is beneficial. Some may choose to come here for a while and leave somewhere else, but hopefully that cohort that then goes through, some of our local nurses will also benefit from having that class and those options available to them, so that they can, like, if no one's interested in continuing development, then we're not going to have that need, and we're not going to be able to, you know, funnel funds there to be able to support something like that, or encourage the institutions to offer it if it's like 2 people versus this is kind of our new pathway. This is how we develop our own. Because even if we look at our nursing school that we have on the island now at the UCCI, the Ruth Eleanor, it's not all Caymanians that attend. Because we want a school with enough kids that make it beneficial, that we're learning and improving that quality of education that's coming out of it. So there are benefits to having non-Caymanians a part of this and willing to contribute and grow with us, so we all enhance our skill set together. And obviously we're going to benefit in that regards in the long run. So, but I still want to hear, and if there's a way that we can ensure that, you know, businesses or healthcare institutions ensure their X amount of local Caymanians a part of those being offered the training courses or the options for career development, is always part of it. It'd be something that would come out if that's one of the solutions that the majority say that that's something that we think we need to have. This is, like I said, this is their voice. This is their chance to help us see what it is and then help us go from there to make it better.
All right. Very good. All right. I do see someone trying to call, but let me just restart the phone. I feel like we just need to do a quick power off and on here so we can hear them properly. And then we'll get to their questions. Someone in the show comment section, Ms. Pat, good morning, says, are there any plans to expose your students to the nursing profession earlier?
Yeah, no, that is one of our goals. I was talking yesterday on, I think it was Business Buzz, and I was saying that my goal is to host actually a healthcare job fair. So we have job fairs all the time.
Right.
And they have them in the school. I know there's one happening soon because the kids are about ready to pick their 10 and 11, because my son's there. Their O-level classes are CXC, so they bring them in, but it's all the professions. I feel because we have such a need here on the island from a medical standpoint, and because our numbers are so low in regards to people going into medicine, it'd be beneficial for us to actually host a medical job fair, as showing the benefits of becoming a radiologist or becoming a lab technician or becoming an EMS person, not just the nurse, not just the doctor, not the high ones we look at, but across the board.
There's lots of options.
There are lots of options. So that is my goal, to do that. And part of that then is getting into the schools more often, finding out the best way to show them, not just someone coming and sitting at table and saying, hey, you should become a nurse or you should do this, but looking for interactive ways to have, maybe like using the simulation lab from the nursing school, where we have the doll, you know, the mannequin, and you can put in a program and say, you know, pretend this is that, and they can actually see, feel, touch what it would be like to be in a similar scenario, or using virtual reality goggles that might take you through a scenario that you can feel like you're there. I think that's kind of a great way for us to get to our students and help them to see the options and the possibilities. And so it is one of my goals for sure. And it falls under me as well, to look at how we can continue to expose our students to that earlier interest in nursing and medicine at large, truth be told.
And speaking of that, Health City Cayman Islands, I did see them advertising just this past week that their Health Explorers program which offers a lots of amazing opportunities to younger kids, is available. So to Ms. Pat, check out that program. Any parent who's listening and wants to find out more, you can certainly follow them on social media. I think we even shared the post as well. And they have a new session for Health Explorers coming up on, I think it's early March. So go ahead and check that out. So again, this is a program that for years now, Health City Cayman Islands has been offering, and it really gives people, for example, ability to shadow a doctor. They, have kids come in to the oncology center and the East End facility in the past from all of the different schools, both private and public sector schools. So this is a fantastic opportunity for anyone who's interested. And they also, just FYI, this Thursday, the 30th, are having a job fair. So I don't know how many of you saw this, but they're actually having a job fair. I'm going to share this for them as well at Clifton Hunter, because I didn't even see this one. But again, this is a health fair that they're putting on, and they're talking about medical and allied health careers, the Shadow Doctor program, and TVET education. So we know a few Caymanian children have already gone through their various programs and have continued to work with the organization and made some real strides. So parents, you've got to keep on top of it. If your children may be interested, they may not even know, but if they may be interested, they can certainly check that out. And there was also a post where they did their annual Cayman Academy Science Symposium on last week, Wednesday. And again, they were presenting information to students about STEM careers and medicine and allied health. So if you want to get children interested, you got to pique their interest as early as you can, right?
And I love that they're doing those things where they're getting in front of them and talking, but I also love the shadowing bit that they do, because shadowing is key for you to understand and see and feel. And so often people go into medicine because they've been touched in a certain situation, and then they're like, well, I want to do that. But that's where getting in, at least being able to shadow and see that happen in real time, not just hearing about it or seeing it on TV. It can make it a bit more real to say that's really something I want to do. Because most people going into medicine are passionate about helping others and making a difference, and getting there on the ground helps to build that in their kids.
Yes. Someone says, can you ask Miss Felicia to talk about the benefits of being a nurse and putting out there so Caymanian listeners can choose if they want to go into nursing?
Sure, no, definitely. I was saying yesterday, I'm very biased. I think nursing is the best profession. I'm just gonna say it. I think I said it I think nursing is absolutely the best. It is a stepping stone to everything. I feel there's so many times I've been in situations and it's outside of my training per se, but it's like, we need to change that light bulb. A nurse can do that. Like we're put on the spot to assess a situation when we're trained, and to meet the need of the doctor, of the patient, of the family, all at the same time. That's the nurse in that scenario. So we're constantly assessing, and so the skill set that I've learned over time to be able to multitask, to be able to public speak, to be able to do some. It's such a vast area. Nurses is about teaching and education. So you learn public speaking, you learn how to speak to others, meet people where they're at. Nursing also has amazing bedside. I mean, I can tell you, there's never a day that goes by that I don't get stopped by someone that says, thank you so much for what you did in this particular situation. It's a very rewarding job because you're making a difference in people's lives and at vulnerable times for them. And so you stand out to them forever as being the person that made that difference. And it could be something as simple as holding their hand. It could be something more heroic in emergency room, as being a part of that emergency team to revive someone and save their lives. It isn't without its challenging, but it's very, very rewarding. And it's a profession that you can do in many different areas. So nurses can work in travel medicine. Nurses can work in insurance companies. Nurses can work in ministries with policies and procedures. Nurses can work in so many different areas. You don't have to be just a bedside nurse. It is a stepping stone to so much more. You can be a teacher. You can educate. It's so vast that it's definitely one of those ones that if you are interested in making a difference in your society, if you've got that passion to just, whatever that may be, but big in making a difference, nursing is definitely the one. And it won't steer you wrong. Whatever it gives you, you keep and you build upon, and you become so much more. So I love nursing. I thank God I chose it. I think it chose me at the same time. But yeah, I would encourage people, if you're big in making a difference, consider nursing. And like I said, it's not, I know a lot of people get stuck and said, well, I don't want to just work shifts, or I don't just want to be by the bedside, but I know nurses that work in so many other areas. And then there's pediatrics, and then there's midwifery, if we even take you through there, or nurse practitioner, and you're prescribing and you're treating and you're managing patients. The sky is such the limit with nursing, like literally. I love it.
Absolutely. So this study has the word Delphi in it. So what is a Delphi study?
So a Delphi study is just the version of study, like as I mentioned, with going through the rounds where you're collecting the data and then prioritizing it and then reprioritizing it again. It's the anonymity is it because we don't need to know where you are, who you are, any of those things. We just need to know your opinions and how you rate them. And so that's the gist behind the whole Delphi study. It's getting to a consensus without having to identify anyone in that regard. So it's a really good study for such a small island where people might be concerned. I work at Health City, when they know that I said this, whatever, or I work at HSA, whatever the case may be. No one's going to know. We are hosting it through the Ministry of Health, just to add into there. So the link shares here to the Ministry of Health. There are no identifiers anyway, but it's not even in any of the particular institutions' hands. And then the information is just collated and then resent back out through the Department of Regulatory Services to all the nurses' email addresses that we have on file, because they're registered here and practicing here in the islands. However, we know some people's their email address aren't up to date, or maybe it's gone into the junk and they haven't seen it. So if someone hasn't seen it, we have it on the Nursing Association's, the Cayman Islands Nursing and Midwifery Association's website, our Facebook page, and also on the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. They can find that link, or they can message me here and I would definitely get it to them so that they can partake, because we need everyone. So I'm encouraging, if you have a family friend that's a nurse, or someone that just say, hey, did you complete this survey? Round 1 actually ends on February the 2nd. And for your information to be considered and collected in it, you have to have done all 3 rounds for it to be valid. So we need them to catch this first round and then look out for the second and the third one that's going to come out afterwards. It should be out maybe 3 to 4 weeks after each one. This survey should be fully completed by March.
So it says that it closes on the Monday the 3rd. So that's
sorry. Then I said the 3rd. I said the 2nd. I'm sorry. The 3rd. It closes on the 3rd. You're correct. Thank you for that.
All right, no problem. So they can even scan. This tells you a little bit about what the study is, but they can even scan this QR code.
Correct, and take them right to the survey.
All right, so folks, if you are in the nursing profession and you live in the Cayman Islands, you're a registered nurse, registered midwife, currently practicing, employed, and working in the Cayman Islands, they'd like your participation in the first of its kind 2025 nursing research study, which again aims to obtain feedback from nurses and midwives on the barriers to career development, obtaining consensus really on what those barriers are, and hopefully leading to solutions in the very near future. So how many parts are there to the survey?
3 rounds. So round 1 is just give us your information. Round 2 is rate them again. And then round 3 is rate them again. So there'll be three rounds come in total. Yeah, and so it doesn't take long. I've completed it myself, and it should take about 5-10 minutes tops, depending on how much you write. But it'll be very useful. And then we want your solutions as well. So we're not assuming that we know how to solve the problem, but that we want people to be participating in making the changes. So let us know how you think we can, and then rate them. And then we're going to look at that, bring it back to the stakeholder group. Go from there. How do we actually make this happen? And then it's something that I can propose through ministry. If we do need to look at changing any laws or supporting it, or if we do need to just look at creating regulations and guidelines for the Nurse and Midwifery Council or the Health Practice Health Practice Council as to what we want to do to enhance this within our country.
Right. All right, folks. 9362626 is the telephone number. If you have any questions, please do call. Miss Felicia's here to answer those for you about this survey. It's a wonderful opportunity for the government to sort of understand what the needs are of nurses and midwives here in the Cayman Islands. So great opportunity when they do research studies, it's important that you participate, because that's what they're going to rely upon to then ask for additional fundings or identify areas of need and, really build out from there. So this is, again, the first of its kind 2025 nursing research study, trying to figure out where the barriers are for career development for the nursing and midwifery professions.
Yeah.
So this
One
is
of the things I identified already as we were doing this, or we identified just in trying to educate, when I said we talked about career development and not really understanding, was looking at actually
yes.
creating like a pathway. So you can go to other places and you can see where it says, what you need to do to take yourself from a healthcare assistant or a home health aide, straight up to a chief nursing officer. What does that look like? And so I know one of the
Mhm.
things we're looking at developing out, finding a consensus between the different institutions as what they would require for someone to go from one to the other, and then creating that kind of pathway. So it's something you could share at schools, as we talked about earlier. This is kind of what that would look like. So you actually have career pathways for development. And then it's one that we can roll out outside of nursing to other professions as well.
Mhm.
The scholarship secretary are working with them, and these are things that we can create. So kids, when they're coming in and they're looking at schooling, and you're looking, these are what you're doing, and this is why you're doing it. And hopefully then our institutions will know we've got these many people interested in continuing and doing these things. And then we, looking at that job sustainability, and making sure that we have the workforce we need in the long run with all the different levels, because we need people in all levels, not just
Mhm.
at one, so that we can actually have an efficient self-sustained system here.
Mhm. Mhm. Fantastic. All right. So, scan the QR code. Hopefully, your contact information is updated and relevant. But if not, you can just verify the websites again that people can actually go to participate.
So the Ministry of Health website or our Facebook page would have the link there, and also the
Mhm.
Cayman Islands Nursing and Midwifery Association also has it there. So they've recently relaunched. They were dormant for a while, the Nursing Association, and they've recently had a new election the end of last year and have a new board, and they've added in midwifery into the name. So they've slightly um,
Mhm.
amending the name just so it's inclusive of everyone. But they're doing a lot to do continuing education, and so they're also supporting the study to hear what the nurses want. And so they have it on their Facebook page as well, or they can just email me at
Mhm.
felicia.mclean@gov.ky, and I'd be happy to send it to them as well.
Mhm. All
But
right.
anyone that wants to find me can always find me, so I'm not worried that they won't
Yes.
find me.
Someone's asking if there's a new program for nursing. So UCCI does have. It's not entirely new. I think it's a couple years in
It's
now.
over 10 years now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 10 years old. So yeah, they have a full 4-year degree program there at at the
Mhm.
school. And then in regards to before nursing, the healthcare assistant or caregiver assistant, they have the one at they do it at a CIFEC level. So that year 12 program in CIFEC, they think they offer it
Mhm.
there. They have one at UCCI, but it's through the University of the West Indies. There's a course there, and I think the Pine still offers one as well. So those are the two programs. You kind of have a career aid assistant program or your 4-year degree nursing program at present. But we're looking at continuing to build that out. We're hoping the study helps to guide us, that maybe they say, we'd love to be able to advance our clinical skills and become, an expert at wound management or colostomy care or something. Maybe those are technical courses that could be offered at the institution, at the school, that would allow people to skill up their skills, not necessarily full degree levels, but more skill set to then be a specialist in certain areas.
Mhm. All right. Somebody else was asking if you had to go to Jamaica to do your studies. The short answer is not necessarily. UCCI has an amazing program that's been going now for some 10 years.
Yeah, they
So,
do have it. So they do go to Jamaica partially. They do 2 weeks in Jamaica for their pediatrics. Just an FYI, that course. We don't see as much pediatric cases in that regards. A lot of our pediatric cases tend to go overseas for their
mm,
specialties. So to complete the program and to ensure that our students get the best of it, they actually do 2 weeks in Jamaica. Just so they
mhm.
know, they're not going it for the whole course, but they do the 2 weeks.
Yes. Wonderful. All right. Very good. Anything else that we need to know in relation to the survey?
I think that's it. I think just look out for it. If you haven't gotten it, please reach out to me. Please look out for it. Please complete it before the 3rd, February the
Mhm.
3rd. It's so key that you get into all 3 phases. And I'd hate for you to miss phase 1 and then see phase 2 and phase 3 and your information not be valid. So please
Mhm.
do that. If you have a friend, a family, a cousin, whoever, let them know this is happening. We want we want to make sure this is locally led by what people want. We don't want to make assumptions and do it for them, but we
Mhm.
can't do it if we don't hear from them. So it's their time to have a voice. We're super excited. It's the first time we've ever come out to the nurses. So I know it's new and it's scary, but it's an exciting opportunity. So partner
Mhm.
with me and with the leaders here as we can look to make the profession better.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Miss Felicia.
Thank you too.
Always a pleasure to have you
Yes,
here.
thank you.
All right, my dear. Miss Felicia McLean, Chief Nursing Officer with the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Have a beautiful day.
Thanks, bye.
All righty. All right, folks. So make sure there's the QR code. Again, you have to meet the criteria of being a registered nurse or registered midwife here practicing and living in the Cayman Islands and employed and working in the Cayman Islands. Participate. Round 1 of the survey is going to close on Monday, February 3rd, and then they'll give us more information, no doubt, about round 2 and 3. Again, it's called the 2025 Nursing Research Study. The Ministry of Health is conducting a Delphi study to learn more about the barriers to career development for nurses and midwives registered and working in the Cayman Islands. So of course, don't forget that career development is more than just the academics or degree. It can be a lot of different things in terms of continuing education components as well. So good survey. The more information they have, the more they can act on it accordingly. Good morning to Miss Darlene. How are you, honey chow? All right. Everybody good? Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So lots of exciting things coming up in the month of February, and we're going to be sharing some of those with you here shortly, including the annual symposium by the Alex Panton Foundation. So that's going to be their symposium is set for the 15th. So we will be providing you with some really good details on how you can sign up and register. I attended last year, and I must tell you, it's extremely educational. I learned so much. There was a doctor there. I have to try to get her name again. She did a presentation on childhood trauma and the impact that it has on people's lives. And I can tell you that it is, wow, it is absolutely shocking, the lifelong impact that it can have. And so again, protecting vulnerable individuals being really key to their future development and success in life. So you can register for the annual Youth Mental Health Symposium. This is its 8th year, and it's going to be held on the 15th of February under the theme, Turning the Tide Together, Providing Hope for Our Youth. And they're going to be focusing on building resilience, understanding and offering solutions to the mental health challenges faced by young people today. And of course, you can register at the alexpantonfoundation.ky. We'll give you more information throughout the day and days leading up to this amazing event. Fantastic. All right, honey chow. We got special guests coming in the studio mañana. So make sure you get ready for it. Good morning, Senor Luis. ¿Cómo estás? So make sure I'm drinking some mint tea this morning. This one tastes nice. Oh, I like these because they always have a little positive saying. So this one says, one who brings happiness to others will find it. Nice. See, I got my honey chow mug. Honey chow. Delicious. I need to put it on the cup warmer. Let me kind of scooch my gooch over here and turn on my little cup warmer. I'm trying to find it. There we go. Turn this on, keep my tea nice and warm. Oh, can I tell y'all something? We're going to do some giveaways today. They got all kind of smart devices now. They got the cup warmers that are smart. They'll send you a message. Your tea is so many degrees and ready for you. I'm like, yes, what a mess. Okay. So, you guys know I love a giveaway. Who doesn't love a good giveaway? Show me, raise your hands. We love a good giveaway. Honey chow. Let me see what else we got here. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I forget I have giveaways because I stick them in an envelope and then I can't find them. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I had gift certificates and stuff. Got to do better. So let's talk about politics. Ay, ay, ay. Caramba. I tell you, I don't know what to say with y'all. where shall we begin? All right. Big shout out to all the candidates, I guess. Lots of them attended. I think I mentioned this yesterday, the forum, the protests on Saturday, because, now they attend stuff because they want to be seen and they want to be heard, honey chill. And so it's interesting. We're going to be airing another segment. I would say today's Wednesday. Maybe Friday or early next week with Mr. Ralston Anglin. Child, I feel like I'm in school when I go to talk to Ralston because I got to prepare. So I read my notes. Got it all here, honey child. All 12 pages of his accomplishments when he was minister last time that fell under his ministry, education ministry. Lots to go through. And so we're doing these in a slightly different format as opposed to having him, show up in the show. We're going to actually pre-record these because then we can talk about the details of these programs a little bit more. But I can tell you the man does not come with any notes. He knows his stuff, or he's refreshed his brain. He shows up with his notes. He's given me notes like a good student. I got to prep. And I got to read so I can ask relevant questions. And so, yeah, we're gonna get to it. Some of you have asked very, very specific questions of the candidates where you see as their areas of weakness. And of course, we definitely ask those questions on your behalf. That's how it works, I don't know how else to. I was having a discussion yesterday with someone who said to me, yes, Sandy, it's entirely possible that some candidates are petrified of you. And I'm like, really? Oh, Lord, I keep telling y'all that I don't really bite. I mean, that's the truth. I don't bite. I really don't. But anywho, I don't have I was actually speaking to someone who might be running, and they're like, yeah, boy, people scared of you when it comes to the questions. And I said, why? I have a job to do. And this is what I explained to them. This is really how I feel about it, right? And my job is my first priority. And that is more important than anything else. So the show is called The Cold Hard Truth. I'm here to give you guys as much as possible the cold hard truth. And so whether I like you or don't like you doesn't really matter when it comes to me doing my job. Somebody made an observation. I want to give a big shout out to her. She made an observation to me on Friday, I think it was. And she said, Sandy, this was in relation to the port situation. She says, I think I understand your style a little bit better. She's like, you're not a person who can share how you feel about a situation because it just shows on your face normally. All right, honey, chill. But she says that doesn't mean that you're biased as a host. So she's like, you might have your own opinion. And there are times when I definitely let you guys know my opinion. And it's very, very clear what my opinion is. But she said people are confusing that with you asking the tough questions and gearing the conversation where both sides are being represented and have an opportunity to speak. She's like, the platform provides the opportunity for people to put out their position and to have their say. You're not shutting them down. If you were biased, you probably wouldn't even have them on the program. So you're allowing them to utilize the forum. You're asking balanced, tough questions. Although people may think or may know what your position is, that still does not make you a biased host. And so people need to try to separate the two things. And I thought about it for a minute, and it does make sense. So even as it relates to candidates, there might be some candidates that, maybe I kind of like. I don't really know if I like any of them that much to the point where I'm going to be like, well, none of them get a pass. That doesn't matter to me, right? But yeah, I mean, some people have more likable personalities for sure, and some just don't. And some have done so much wrong as in their job that if I were responsible for whether or not they still had a job, they would long be fired. And that's the truth. That's the cold hard truth right there, honey chia. And so, it still doesn't save them from the tough questions. So yes, because I like you doesn't mean you're not going to get asked the tough questions. You just have to come prepared. And in my humble opinion, if you are running for public office and you want to represent the people of the Cayman Islands, you should come prepared. It's so simple. It's not brain surgery. Come prepared. Exhibit number 1. Over the weekend, Elizabeth did a phenomenal job with the covering the protests. And one of the things that she actually was doing was she's mentioning who's there. Who's who? Rolston was there. He got interviewed. Mr. Ozzy was there. Andre, I think Kathy was there. She got interviewed. So she tried to interview people saying, okay, at the core of this issue, we need some legislative change around this whole status situation and possibly the revocation of status. You're vying for office. What are your thoughts on this? She's asking them all the same questions. Really good. And so she mentioned, as she's scanning the pool of people, there might have been some people who were there who running that she didn't even know they're running, but the ones that she knew for sure, she made sure to get their position on record of where they stand and why they decided to show up. Like Mr. Bush, he was a drive-by. He wasn't going to show up for us. So she mentioned, I'm surprised at the people who asked the question, but nonetheless, we don't shy away from the tough questions here, that's for sure. So she did mention that Leon Gold was there. And so I was at that particular time listening, and I said, oh, honey child, please do not interview Leon Gold. I'm sorry, but he does not get an audience on CMR. Because that's basically it's free advertising for all these candidates when you think about it. Yes, we're there to cover it, but they're also getting to promote themselves that, yeah, they showed up to this thing. Cayman is going, all right, yeah, man, make a vote for that person because they're standing up for us, right? This is cold hard truth now. So, when I said that, I don't know who it was in the comment section, or if it was more than one person even, and I didn't see that comment. But they were like, oh, why won't CMR interview Leon like everybody else? The fact that you have to ask means that you simply have not been paying attention, unfortunately. And so, sad for you. But I think somebody said I'm blurry. Really? Not on Facebook, honey child. As a matter of fact, I was just thinking I'm looking so crystal clear on Facebook that I had to change my camera last week. And it's the same camera, but this one looks clearer to me. Do me a favor and you refresh your feed and see what happens. Because sometimes it's actually not on my end. Oh, my apologies. No, honey child, I'm watching. And it's crystal clear. Are you in Facebook or YouTube? You refresh. Okay. So, yes, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So if you missed the memo, there are certain people that unfortunately don't get an audience. I make no apologies for that. Okay. And the reason why I make no apologies for that is because I have made it very, very clear that I stand with and for victims. Okay? So, if you have a history, and sometimes I don't know everybody's history. And in fact, the more I learn about some of y'all, you'll have a historical history of bad behavior and doing things with young people. There are lots of allegations about why you're always going to Nicaragua and Honduras and that sort of thing, right? But I have to feel confident in myself that the sources are good enough, that I can verify. I've spoken to victims and I can believe these things. Now, there is a sitting MP for West Bay who a victim, she says she's a victim of his from when she was a child, an underage young lady, reached out for years and she has shared her story. And I have encouraged her to share her story, not just with me, but with, for example, the previous leader of the government and others. But she is afraid. She's a civil servant. She actually worked in this person's ministry when they were minister. And she says that she was raped by this sitting member of parliament. And I said to her, please, don't just tell me the story. You need to tell others. But she can't get through or get past the fear factor. And I can't push anybody to do something that they're not willing or prepared to do, right? So unfortunately, this happens a lot. People will come to me and they will tell me these stories. And there's only so much that I can do with information like that. So it is very, very unfortunate. But when I feel confident, like multiple victims have come forward, different stories, different angles, but sometimes very, very similar characteristics as they have with Leon. Yes, he has not been convicted. The one that went to trial, he got off. I was there. I never believed him. I heard the full trial for myself. I heard and looked at the evidence that was presented in court, and I still don't believe him to this day. He just got lucky. And sometimes that happens in a court of law. But I'm not going to give him an audience on this platform because I stand with all of the women who have said, Auntie, look at the evidence. Let me tell you what he's done to me. Okay. So not for all the money in the world. He could come. I mean, literally, he could show up. Well, he better not show up at my door. That wouldn't be a good idea. But he could call me, send one of his friends to call or whatever, with a bag of $1 million and says, I just want 30 minutes on your show for $1 million. And I can tell you, he would not get it. Not for all the money in the world. Because I don't believe him. I believe he's a predator. Other young men have reached out to me who know him. And they know the guys that he's hung out with. They know his history. And these young men were able to tell me a lot. You know what I find interesting? When you see men in Cayman reaching out to tell you a story, believe them. Because men not into the gossipy thing like that, you know. A lot of them, well, I shouldn't say that. Some of them are. But, you know, they got their ears down to the ground, and they have sisters sometimes and cousins and ex-girlfriends or even current girlfriends who have endured trauma. And one night, you know, he's trying to get lucky with his girlfriend, and she's like having a moment where she starts to break down and crying. He's like, what on earth is going on? And she's able to then share. I have experienced this. This has happened to me. He believes her because people don't have that kind of trauma for no reason. Right? So he's able to say, wow, yeah, this totally makes sense. Why you can't, you know, engage in intimacy sometimes because you have been traumatized by someone. So a lot of guys know what's going on. And a lot of times they actually reach out to me and they share this information. And I am just like, whoa. Sometimes I'd be like, what did you do? They don't know what to do. They're like, I don't know. I just listened to her and, you know, what do I do? So Anybody with that interest can't come on CMR. Nope. Like I said, they can come with $1 million cash, hard, cold cash. Be like, here, honey child, pay off your mortgage. And I'd be like, we have to work the 25 years to get that done if this is what it's going to take, because we're not going to do it. And I make no apologies for that. Absolutely no apologies. So for those of you who were tuned in on to the protest and were wondering why he couldn't come on, that means that you missed the show where we talked about it. And that's what it is. So they have other options. In fact, somebody was telling me over the weekend, apparently he had his first meeting online on Sunday, and it was such a disaster that he actually ended up deleting it. Lord have mercy. Y'all not ready? None at all. So he actually did a little flyer, sent that around to people. He's having an online meeting. Come, show up to my meeting, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. And come to find out, he didn't even know how to, he did the whole thing, live Facebook series this Sunday at 7 p.m. He didn't do a test run of his, show prep. And, things happen, but gosh, you got to be prepared. You got to know what you're doing with your little camera and stuff like that. So his little flyer looked half decent. This is what he's posted on social media. Although it looks a bit stretched. You see how stretched his face is, so he might need help with the graphics. But nonetheless, he did a whole thing. Mark your calendars for tomorrow at 7 p.m., he said. Join us for an electrifying opportunity to hear directly from your candidate and representative. Well, Bobo, you're not a representative yet. I'm just saying. You can't be a representative to get elected, but anywho, some of these people don't even know the correct terminology to be using. He says, don't miss out. And for the two people that tuned in, this is what they saw. It was so bad. Nobody told him, I guess, how to set up his camera properly and all that kind of stuff. That's what he was looking like. And so he ended up deleting it, I understand. What a hot mess. Wow. Lord Jesus, please take the wheel. I need Mr. Berman Scott to write me a song about how Jesus should take the wheel. Because God knows. Please take the bus. All right. So, Red Bay, get prepared to make a better choice on that one, honey chow. That ain't going to be it. Okay, then. Yep. So let's, oh my gosh, what? So let me see here, honey chow. Let me see. Okay, so that's what it is. And other things happen politically. Now we need to talk about as well. So regardless of where people stand politically, I think that honestly, we need some really basic rules by which we operate. So the sad part about party politics is I don't want us to ever get to the point where, because I've kind of seen it already, you identify with party colors, like, oh, you got to wear red if you're PPM or this, whatever. To me, that stuff is low grade, like mentally low grade, and it's just stupid. I don't know how else to describe it. It doesn't matter. So if I want to wear a red dress and show up to an official event, y'all shouldn't be assuming that, oh, Sandy is wearing red because she's pro PPM. Like, I don't even think like that. To me, that's just so weird, right? But we've seen it happen in other Caribbean countries around the world. And so it is low key one of the things that divides people. Election time, you can't be seen in a red area with a green shirt on, because then you're like for this party. And It's nonsense, quite frankly. I never wanted Cayman to get involved in that level of politics. So we saw there's a couple things coming out of East End, and there was even a couple, maybe over a month ago, that someone was defacing something of Mr. MacTaggart, I think it was, where they had burnt it or something. Can somebody resend that to me? I'm trying to refresh my memory on what that was again. And I thought, oh my God, who does this? Right? This is crazy. You know, I don't know who did it, obviously, but this is the kind of low ball stuff that we will not tolerate in this country, and nobody should accept and tolerate in this country. You don't deface property. You don't go around ripping up signs. Have you seen people do this before? Remember last election? Somebody did it for Mr. Frank Cornwall, and then MP Kenneth went out there and cleaned off the sign. I think they had marked it up or something like that, or spray painted or something. So Kenneth went and cleaned his opponent's sign. You got to be prepared to run a clean campaign. So all the dirtiness and tricks, not impressive. How you impress people is you come to them, you speak directly, you take the heat, answer their questions, tell them what solutions you think might be viable if you are part of the government. Because if you're sitting on the opposition, you can have all the solutions in the world and you can bring all the bills in the world. It doesn't really mean much. It just means that, oh, thanks for the bill. We'll table that. It's probably not going to go anywhere. But at least allow the people to see that you have the level of thinking that is required as a representative of the people, right? So it's easy to identify the solutions. Yes, the problems, my apologies. That's the easy part. We all know what the problems are. It doesn't take a genius to see what's wrong. But it may take one to come up with workable solutions and then talk about the implementation of those solutions. So here's what I mean. And this is where, again, you as voters in this country have to be very, very discerning, right? You have got to know what somebody says, just because it sounds good, or even because you may agree with it, that does not mean that it will work in the real world. So remember, we had someone a couple of weeks ago came up with a great solution, and I like the idea, but it's not a practical idea. Having your MPs sign a contract and somehow that contract is enforceable. And I had to ask, give me an example of where this has been deployed and worked anywhere in the world. Because the one thing I know, that there is zero reason to try to reinvent the wheel. Okay, human beings have been around for thousands of years. None of our problems tend to be new. And so a lot of times the solutions are also not new. It might be a matter of trying to tweak the solutions for our own community and our own country. In the world of politics, there are people who've studied political systems. That is their area of speciality, right? They have made it their life's work. There are people who have worked in social programs and social services. Those are the experts that elected officials should be relying on for feedback on what's feasible and what isn't feasible, what will work and what will not work. So if something sounds great, but it's not going to work, I don't give you brownie points for that. No pun intended on the brownies, honey child. Okay? So we have a couple local examples. We have international examples, like Trump and his birthright thing. That sounds great to Americans who are up in their feelings about, we have illegal immigrants here and they're taking over our country. Let's just kick them out, even if they are born in this country. Wow, that sounds amazing. Let's do it. Until the court steps in and says, oh, honey child, that's unconstitutional. So something that sounds great, but you can never do, even when you try to do it, the courts will stop you and say, nope, you can't do it. It's unconstitutional. And you voted on him based on that? Does that make any sense? You voted on something based on, he can't even do it. He can never deliver that for you. But as human beings, this is how short-sighted we are. We think, well, if it sounds good, you got my support. We got to think a little bit deeper. Scratch. You hear that? Here. Scratch the surface. Go a little bit deeper. Start thinking for yourselves. John himself, in the last election, we're going to cancel all work permits. No more work permits. Y'all like, oh, button down. Yeah. And look at him. Look at number one donkey. He can't even cancel work permits because his company relies on work permits to operate. He hires more expats than anybody else in his own company at the airport. Pick sense from nonsense. Even a donkey might sound good every once in a while. Hee-haw, hee-haw. And y'all thinking, oh yeah, I can vote for him because he said that. The other thing you want to be very, very cognizant of is look at the individual's track record. He said that, but his track record, both in his own business and in government, would tell you that that was never going to ever happen. So what them old people say, mouth can say anything. You know that law they tell you, yeah, mouth can say anything. They will promise you anything. And that's why they can't deliver. Because even their promises are not realistic. So how somebody can deliver on something that does not operate in the world of reality? That's fantasy. Good morning, caller.
Good morning from the Brack. How are you?
Good morning, honey child. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fabulous.
Good.
I just want to tap into what you just said with respect to, how Dwayne John got up on the platform. I'll say it again. I regret voting for him. I do. God forgive me. Anyways, when I requested that FOI on all the work permits several years ago, I'm sure you remember that.
Oh, yes.
And the whole purpose behind me requesting that FOI, Sandra, was because people were saying to me that worked in these big conglomerates, Maples FS, Ernst & Young, Bank of Butterfield, Price Waterhouse, different than big conglomerates, people that work there are natives that I know. Someone went to school with me, some I just became acquaintance with over the years. And they would stop and they would say, Carrie, they just brought in these two people doing the same job I am doing. And I get a whiff of what their salary looks like, some idea. They're making much, much more. All 3 times one was making more than the other person who had to train that one when they hired them. And it was just becoming very prominent to me. People kept telling me they're bringing in all these different people and paying them more money than me. And I doing the same job and I got to train them. That's been the thing with our people for years.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, let me do an FOI to get some idea of what these companies are paying their staff. And I did. And they gave me the FOI and they released the name of the business. They released the title of the job that the permit was being held by. And they released the salary, they released the start date of the permit, and they released the ending date of that permit and the nationality of the person. They never gave me the person's name. So I started to share that to people that I know that information was imperative to. And then all of a sudden, the Ernst & Youngs and the Butterfield Bank and the Maples FS all come down on me with their big conglomerate of attorneys from Naples to sue me, to block me from releasing a freedom of information. And you know who was part and parcel with a lot of that? The same one up here running in Cameron Brack, Dan Scott, but employment opportunities on his flyer. He was his company that he was a partner in at the time, EY, blocked that FOI. They took me in that conference room of Maples and Calder and they slaughtered me. slaughtered me in their conference room and under duress forced me to sign this document saying that I will not publish that FOI anymore. Now you tell me that a kind of representation you want to get in the country, you want to put in your parliament? Come see how much he gonna hide from you. Come see how much he gonna do to block stuff from you knowing. No transparency. He is not a good person to put in the house. And I can afford to tell you, there are two good people coming that's gonna throw him up in the air.
Let me ask you a question about that, Carrie, because I do remember that, and I gotta admit that I was confused about how what legal argument or logic did they use on you to force you to not share that information?
They basically told me that if I didn't sign the contract, they were going to get the Chief Justice Smelly, who had already agreed to put me in Northward Prison for 6 months for releasing this information because it was personal. Now, nobody name under it. Only the entity they were employed with was released, not the name of the individual.
But it's FOI. That's the whole point about an FOI.
Exactly.
You're supposed to be able to release it.
They did. They released it.
I mean, you then can release it to the public.
Exactly. But we don't have that. Smelly set the precedent for that. Now that if you publish an FOI you receive, anybody can come now and say that that information is too personal to their business, and they don't want nobody to know what their salaries are in their organization. That was the other argument. As if their staff don't stand by the water cooler and talk about their wages every fucking week. Oh shit. Sorry, my apologies. I forgot you're still on the radio. My apologies.
You know them folks over at Off-Rag, they only need a reason.
Shut up. They can shut up.
No.
Off-Rag don't do nothing for this country. I will be clean going forward. I promise.
All right, we got to respect the rules.
Yes, but they don't do nothing for the country anyway.
All right. Yes, we still have to respect the rules until we're ready to legally challenge them. But I mean, that is so interesting to me. You have a copy of that lawsuit or his decision in regard? Yeah. Send it to me because I would love to read it and see exactly what it says because it is peculiar to say the least. I'd like to see it because you know. I'm always personally up for a challenge. So let me see it. I'm sure not much has changed.
No, but it just shows you those four big corporate bullies.
Oh, they have a lot of
power in this country.
Absolutely.
This country.
Yeah.
And they set that precedent in the courts that they have the right to stop any FOI. Anybody can stop a FOI release now because of that one I did. So it just shows that FOI is just a joke now. It's not even, that's why I'm still waiting from August last year for FOIs from some of them because I don't even know they have managers for those departments anymore. I have been writing and nobody responding to my FOIs. And my FOIs are legitimate information that the people should know because they need nothing transparent on the government website. You don't even know what your parliamentarian's email address is. You don't know that because, like I said on my video the other day, I've been writing to Miss Julie and I've used every version of her email that I could possibly write to her to the government, and it all bounces back. So, and some of those emails I was sending it from to test it, she wouldn't know they were mine. So, you know, it just tells you she don't have an email. She don't want the people write to her to be either to praise her or to cuss her out. She don't want to hear from you. That's the thing. She don't want, and the fact that she's so busy running all these ministries now. How many she gonna have, Sandra? How many ministries she in charge of? Maybe 12? And nothing happening?
I don't even know.
Did you see the latest stuff that they published on the Gov Instagram page about the MOU with the DART organization for the $38 million they got paid in for the Rengen contract that they failed? You know, see that they come now with an MOU that Mr. Manderson, the deputy governor, is going to be heading up something to do with that. And that's it, just little snippets. How do people gonna figure out what they're doing now? They're not telling us in any detail and full transparency what their decision is and what they're going to do. Nothing at all. Just little points, little headlines. How people gonna figure that out? I mean, they have no respect for the constituency of these three islands. None at all. They hide things from us. They don't give you your FOI. They can't be bothered.
So
There is no transparency.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, obviously, I think most people know that Mr. Dan Scott will be running in Cayman Brac.
He gonna get 25 votes, but go ahead.
He hasn't, he hasn't come on this program or booked any time on the program, so we can't ask him this question directly here. But my question to you then, as someone who's living in the Brac, you registered to vote in Cayman Brac?
Oh yeah, Cayman Brac West.
All right. I was saying this morning that it's important to look at people's history. So you're saying this morning essentially that his history being part of the Ernst & Young organization is not one that actually promoted Caymanians in that profession. Now, arguably, he might say to you, hold on, that's not true. I am a Caymanian myself and I made it to the top. I helped other Caymanians, I don't know who else, what other partners Ernst & Young have, to be honest. I don't know much about them, but, he might say, yeah, we promoted Caymanians, we do scholarships, and we offer all these opportunities for upward mobility for Caymanians. So what is your response to that? So on his manifesto, on his flyer, you say he has employment for Caymanians listed, and you're saying, well, that does not coincide with his history at Ernst & Young. But what if he comes back and say, yes, it does, Carrie, because, I promoted during my tenure there as managing partner. I ensured that Caymanians had opportunities, that there was advancement opportunities in the workplace. We took them on. We took on scholarship programs. How would you respond to that counter comment from him? If he was to make one, like I said, he hasn't, but.
Okay. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I know that has happened because they've published every time they give $1,000 to anybody, they put a picture of themselves in the paper or they gave a scholarship. So we are aware that they did. The mere fact that you're in this country making all this money as a conglomerate that size, your duty is to give back to the country, whether you want to or not. And if you're just saving face by doing a few drops in the bucket every year, well, fine. But the mere fact that you have oppressed people in your organization as well that wanted to know why they were underpaid by your organization and they were there all 15 years, 10 years, 5 years. One of their employees was a member of my family. They oppressed her so bad in her job at Ernst & Young. She developed cancer and died. They don't really want me to expose that. And she was a bracker as well. So, a lot of times we look at these organizations, and I worked in them. I worked in Ansbacher, Kitco, and they were the most horrible organization on the face of the earth. They stressed out our Native people on the job so much that they died. Even Roy Boden's sister, Miss Anime, my good friend, she passed away from cancer because of the stress that she was put under in that company. They overstressed that woman on her job. I mean, yeah, you could move and go to another one, but they're going to do the same thing because you know what? You're a native, your accent. That's why they do to us. And I worked in those organizations, so I can afford to tell you, I watched it happen over the years. The oppression that some people can handle it like you and me. Shit don't bother us, but not everybody can. And some people have just very kind, soft hearts. A lot of our natives do. And when you speak ill to them or you treat them with disrespect on the job and they're working their tail off every day to make you look good and you're going to constantly oppress them, then what does that say about you as an organization? You're going to come out now and save face, giving one scholarship, helping one Caymanian, donating $1,000 to Meals on Wheels. I don't care. That doesn't make it any better for you. You need to clean up what you're doing internally to your staff before you'll get any kudos from me. And I can afford to tell you, one of their employees died of cancer because of the stress they put that poor woman under, and she had a kind heart. She was humble. She wasn't a warrior. She never spoke ill of anyone. She was a Christian. I never even heard her cuss ever in her life. And that's the stress that she was on. And she told me, she said, Carrie, this job is going to kill me, but if I go to another one, they're going to do me the same. So I might as well stay with the monster I know. And it killed her. I can afford to tell you that. Those big conglomerates, Sandra, they're only trying to save face by saying they do this and do that. But nobody knows internally what goes on unless you work there. I can afford to tell you I worked in them organizations and I know they treat us horribly, horribly. A lot of us have to sit there and take it because we got bills to pay, children to take care of, mortgages, you name it, and they take it and I watch my people wallow in it. I will even venture as far to say that I watched the bad treatment that was given when I worked at CIBC for when was it CIBC? I think it was called before they went into the bank with Miss Alexis Nunes. Lovely lady. That's Miss Susanna Bothwell's aunt. And the stress that they put that woman under on the job, she said to me one day in the lunchroom, she said, I'm so sick of working here, but the duress of this work is going to kill me. And it individually did change her entire health and made her, and she eventually succumbed to her illness. This is the stuff that has happened to our natives on the jobs in these countries. I don't take crap. I will walk out of the job like I did at Ansbacher, Kitco, when Garcross and that old horrible Scotsman now, and God don't like ugly, you know where he is? He in a madhouse, and I think it's Jersey Channel Islands right now. He told me I was good for nothing secretary. Now I working for 5 trust offices at the time. I only went up in there working for 5 because I was fresh out of college and I knew a lot of the new Excel spreadsheets that were being introduced now into the software world. And I was teaching the secretarial pool as well. So they threw 5 on me while everybody else worked for 2. And he gonna come to me one morning and tell me that I am a good for nothing secretary because I won't take and put the other people work aside and deal with his first. Well, I left him right there with all that work and walked out. I don't take crap. Why I don't work for people? Because I don't take crap. And a lot of us can't do that because we're too afraid. And I understand that. I don't have children. I have cats. But the mere fact is, these same conglomerates, these big bullying for the corporate giants of this country, they have a lot of internal abuse of their employees, a lot. And don't try to go down to Department of Labor and Pensions and complain, because the minute you go and complain about one of them, they got on the phone, call them, tell them, well, you know, Kara came complained about you today. And when by the time you get back to the office, you got a letter of redundancy. Your job has been made redundant. That's happened thousands of times to our people. And a lot of them just packed it up with their children and went to England.
Wow.
I can afford to tell you.
All right, my dear.
Anyway.
Well, leave us there.
Yeah.
What a hot
Have
mess.
a good day.
All righty.
I want to talk. I need a cup too for my coffee every morning, damn it.
Oh my gosh. What a hot mess. 936-2626 is the telephone number. Some really interesting things there. And of course, I am most interested in that FOI because once again, in May of this year, we're going to have, praise the Lord, hallelujah, a freedom of speech case be tested in our Court of Appeals. And depending on the outcome of that case, I would like to have Carrie's FOI, because once that case is all said and done, you better believe Sandy, courtesy of Cayman Mall Road, is going to be publishing those documents. I don't know how many years it's been. I think it's probably been close to 10 years now that happened. Maybe 8 years. I'm trying to remember exactly when it happened. But yeah, we can publish it. And you see, nobody not going to call me into no boardroom and have me sign no disclosure document and scare me. In fact, remember, I can't remember what Carrie's page used to be called, but they had her even shut down her page. That was part of the agreement with them, that they wouldn't sue. You know, I know that it is scary when people threaten to sue you, and it's not a position that people want to be in. And I might sound a little bit crazy for this, but a lot of times I challenge people. I say, go ahead and sue me, because that's the only way we're going to test certain things. Go ahead and take me in court, because we're going to put the court to the test. And if they get it wrong, then we appeal it to the higher court, and hopefully they have enough sense to see what's going on. As is the case with this is not a civil suit. This is a criminal suit. So this is the only prosecution that I have on my file. And I refuse to lie down like a dog and let them roll over me for saying things about a person in this community that we all know who that person is and what their track record has been. And so the court has said they are now going to put down the standards in the Cayman Islands for freedom of speech, especially when it comes to the media. And so we're all going to be paying very, very close attention to what their decision is. So Carrie, you get me that document, honey child. And believe me, your document might get to be published yet. In fact, we might have to FOI and get some updated records. I'm sure they're making a lot more money now than they used to back then anyway. But send me the information. Someone says, how can it be proven that stress is what caused their cancer? Now, stress can do a lot, no doubt. Well, we can't prove that for sure. But certainly, it is her opinion, and she's not a physician. But I do think it is her opinion that it certainly contributed to, the lady's health issues, which she said included cancer. So, stress can kill you. There's no two ways about that. So yeah, that's her opinion. That it was certainly a contributing factor. What a mess. All right, she says she's going to dig it out. 936-2626. Denny, I saw you calling in, honey child. Go ahead, give us a ring back. I'd like to hear your comments. So yeah, they will bully you. Don't make any qualms about it, folks. They will bully you into submission if that's what they believe that it takes. And sometimes you gotta be like, well, come at me. But I know a lot of people are afraid they're afraid to take on that challenge, if you will. And I completely understand that fear as well, because it ain't easy. It ain't easy when people dragging you in court. But I stand here as a testament to the fact that, I've been dragged into court a lot of times and nobody ain't win a single dollar from me yet. Nope. In fact, one of them owes me 50 grand. Honey child. They owe me money. I'm just saying. All righty. You got to stand your ground and stand it firm. Because, child, people will come at you with all sorts of foolishness. Yes, sir. Okay. So some interesting arguments there. I think hopefully Mr. Dan Scott will answer some of those questions about his track record at Ernst & Young and what he did for Caymanians or didn't do, as is the allegation there. And another thing that has come up about Mr. Dan, and again, we're waiting for these people to decide if they're going to come on the show, but someone did say that he was also part of Ernst & Young at the time when they took on the government review, and they made a lot of recommendations about actually selling off government assets, including Cayman Airways. And so if he gets into a position of power, if he becomes a premier one day, what would be his position about that Ernst & Young report, which was, I think, just a couple of years ago? Is he going to be in favor of selling off government assets and privatizing things like the prison, et cetera, since his organization, and I'm assuming as managing director, he would have been an integral part of that, since his organization actually made those recommendations? It's a fair question. Good morning, Denny.
Morning.
Yes, sirree.
She said that was, you said that was about 8 years ago that happened.
If my memory serves me correctly, yes. Remember her page that she used to have? I can't remember what the page was called now, to be honest. Carrie, help us out here. But yes, and I want to say it was probably at least 8 years ago, because I vaguely remember it being around the time that CMR got started, and that's coming up in 8 years. So it might have been right before or right after, some kind of rounding up to about 8 years ago, when they actually made her take down her social media page as well to shut it down.
Would that have been just as the Data Protection Act came into force? Or was it before the Data Protection Act?
I don't know. And that's why I want to see her documents. I actually want to see what they said to her as well, in terms of why they found that it was a breach. So I'm confused, to be honest. I mean, if anything, they needed to challenge immigration and the government for releasing the information, not her for obtaining the information. That's where the legal challenge should have been. That should have been a challenge to the government. But I don't think that if you went through the lawful process of obtaining documentation from a government agency, right? And then you want to share or publish or even write an article, because media does this all the time. They FOI something, they write an article about it. How can that then be seen as wrong? Like there's something fundamentally, I'm missing something here, I feel like, in these arguments. So I need to have a look at that.
Well, the couple of things raised hairs on the back of my neck. Because an FOI document is a public document. Yeah. So it's not that she would have made it public.
Right. The government agency made it public, made the information public. So it was, I am Kimanian, where are my rights? Remember that page?
Yes. Now that you say it.
Yeah. Let me try to see, because I think we may have done an article on it. And so I am Kimanian. Where are my, let me just search our CMR page and see if I can find this. But yeah, so they
but what about the comment about Smelly's
well, that's what I need to see. I need to see that
action.
Yeah, I need to see that judgment as well.
That's I struggle with that one.
Mm-hmm.
On a different subject, I see where Minister Bryan is talking about politicians needing to have power to have control over civil servants.
Where did he say that?
It's a video. I was
actually going to talk about his video. I was talking about politicians or candidates engaging in bad behavior. And I do want to talk about one of his videos about candidates going around pretending to be from the elections office as well. But I haven't seen that one. So I would like to see that. If you have it, please share it with me.
I'll have to see if I can look it up. But okay. I think he was on, I'm not sure which show he was on or whether it was his own show or whatever, but it was just a clip of him making that statement. But because you see, I think what he's trying to say is that they want to be able to have more control over what actually happens. And it's in relation to status grants and all that kind of stuff. But you see, I think that the politicians already have control. But I think the younger politicians don't appreciate the power in the phrase according to law. And you see, as a legislator, you do have the power to decide what the law says within reason. So, for example,
but you said he wanted more power over the civil service. That's a very different servants. That's different.
I agree, but what I'm saying is that I think that those younger politicians lack the understanding of the power that they have as legislators.
Okay.
They do have control according to law. In other words, you can't arbitrarily decide that you're going to get up this morning and order somebody to do something specifically, but you can say these are going to be the rules going forward because we've legislated that would be the rules. Right? And let me give you an example. So people are lamenting that you couldn't revoke the status of the gentleman down there in West Bay that was protested on Saturday. Well, why can't the legislators say, instead of wanting to have control over civil servants, say something like, we're going to amend the law to say, because I think if status is going to mean anything, it can't be that it just gets revoked willy-nilly, right? But you could say that we're going to amend the law that if you're engaged in racial comments, like calling people the N-word and so forth, that's grounds for having your status revoked, because you're talking about something that's specifically egregious. It's not a wide general that trivializes status grants. And so the point I'm trying to make is that legislators, if they think, they just have one little bit of brain power, there are ways in which they can raise the bar on regarding behavior for people who have acquired status by grant. So I just think that it's too easy to just jump up and say we need more power over civil servants. I just see a lot of things going wrong.
Yeah,
right there.
and I mean that could mean so many different things as well. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for that.
All right.
I appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
All right. 936-2626. So let's talk a little bit about something that Mr. Bryan has indicated. I'm going to play the video here that he has indicated has occurred, which is concerning if it did happen. And I did see someone in the comment section of the story who said that this happened to her on, I think she said Friday. Don't quote me on the day, but she said that she had people come by her house and, they were pretending to be from the elections office. So that's a problem because you can't misrepresent who you are if you're going around doing a survey. And someone said to me yesterday, why would anyone want to do that? And the only logical reason why I could think that maybe people or someone would do that is because they're trying to convince others that just to answer their questions. So it's like, okay, if I tell you I'm from the elections office, you're going to answer my questions. Yeah, that's not right. I mean, if you're not from the elections office, or you shouldn't be purporting to be. And so there is a certain message of honesty and integrity for all candidates. They have to follow the law. They have to be, and to be clear, I understand that Mr. Bryan is saying that it's not necessarily the candidate themselves. It could be someone who is out there doing a survey on their behalf. So if you have people out there doing surveys for your organizations, you've got to make sure that they're not on a frolic of their own, as we would say in the legal profession, right? So ensure that they are not impersonating anyone, especially the elections office. The elections office has now issued a statement in relation to this allegation as well, to just remind candidates and their paid help or whatever they are of the legal position, because that's the sort of thing that no doubt is actually a criminal offense. So you will get yourself in trouble if you engage in that kind of behavior. So here's what the minister had to say about it. It's just a couple minutes. So have a listen to this.
Good morning, Georgetown Central. I hope you're having a good Saturday. I'm sorry that I have to be bringing you this video this morning, but I felt compelled that I had to do so. As we know, the election season is here, so expect some silly behavior in our community. Sadly, those who plan to run against me has started that already. I've had a number of reports from many of you who have called me saying that they've had people come to survey their home, saying that they're from the elections office. And so I investigated, and the elections office is not doing any surveys. And then I investigated a little bit further as to who these people are, and they are with my opponents. Which is fine. I support the democratic right of anybody wanting to run. That's democracy, and I support democracy tremendously. What I don't support is people being very disingenuous and fraudulently reporting that they're from the elections office, which is a level of deceit, and they're already starting their election with deception and lies, which is quite sad and should be alarming for you to think about. If they're already starting to lie to you in that capacity, then only God knows what they'll do if they were ever elected. I would encourage you that if anybody comes to your house to ask you to survey, tell them to identify themselves. And if you feel uncomfortable, record the conversation. And for those who support me, and you feel comfortable enough to say, listen, I support Kenneth Bryan, no need to ask me any questions, and just be polite and just say, no, thank you, but no thank you. Because unfortunately, I've had too many reports. At first, it wasn't a big deal. I expect, competition, so to speak, in respect to the political election. It's part of the process. It's for me to prove myself, to continue to have your support. But now they're lying and using the elections office as a way to get you to answer questions. Because I know people in our community who are good citizens. If the elections office is asking you questions, you want to answer them. But this is not the elections official saying this. I've made the report to the elections office about it. If anybody comes to you saying they're from the elections office about this election, that will not be the case, and don't answer any question. And if you can, record them. It's quite disheartening they've started the campaign like this, but not surprising at all. With that being said, God bless you all. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday. And if you hear any other reports, please message me and let me know. And remember, you don't have to answer any question that they ask you. And you'll be hearing more from me in the future. It's just quite sad that those who plan to run against me have started their campaign with lies and deceit, pretending to be something that they're not, which is probably a key indicator of what to expect from them if they're ever elected. God bless you all, and have a wonderful Sunday and Saturday. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. So that's the allegation. And like I said, someone did say in the comment section that she was, on the receiving end of that. No one, I don't think, has any evidence, like concrete evidence. So it's basically them sharing what they say has happened to them. I think that if this is happening, that is incredibly unfortunate. Now, polling is nothing new. Organizations do polls way back in the day. PPM, UDP, they bring in these so-called experts from the Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean countries and so on to give them political advice. And part of the political advice is they'll actually send people out in the community and do polling. Before, they used to use a lot of the foreign people, or they'd have them get on the phone calls and try to go through the voters list. I think they've recognized now that a lot of Caymanians are not really that open to foreigners, ask them questions about their political preferences. And so that's a problem. So now I think they're trying to use more local people. And I spoke to one yesterday. She's denied ever saying to anyone in the community that she's from the elections office. So there's a question mark around this to say, if this has actually happened. But if it's happened or not, the elections office has issued a very, very firm reminder to candidates that this is a sort of behavior that you cannot engage in. It is dishonesty, without a doubt. And so they're warning, anyone who's doing the door-to-door impersonating that they say they've actually received multiple reports of individuals fraudulently claiming to be its employees while conducting political surveys at residential homes across various districts. And, this is unlawful, it's illegal. And of course, know that you could get in some serious trouble if you're found to be engaging in this type of behavior. In fact, the police has said, despite what Mr. Bryan has said to call him, no, the elections office have said that you should report the matter immediately to the RCIPS by giving them a call. He has said, which, point taken, but a lot of times it's a question of evidence. And so what they may end up doing is, denying that it happened. Is your word versus theirs. So if you can get a recording of it in any way, shape, or form, that's a way to prove what has actually happened. There's a lot of shenanigans, folks, that we can expect between now, straight up until April the 30th. There are people who get too close to the polling booths. There are people who insist on driving people to the polls as though that's going to force them to vote for them. You, as citizens of this country, have a right to vote for whoever you wish to vote for. I encourage you to do your research, do your homework, so that you can make a smart and informed decision about trying to select the best candidates for the job. Now, there are people who think that, if they do these polls, they will be guided by the results of those polls, and they can somehow know definitively what's going to happen in an election. Some people are just going to tell you what they think you want to hear. So you show up at their door and it's obvious that you're not with the current MP. And they say, oh, you're going to vote for so-and-so opposing the current MP. They'll say, oh, yeah, I'll give her a vote. And those people never vote for him or her or whoever. So, polls, I guess, have some usefulness to kind of gauge public interest and where the public is. There are some polls that are, they can make a big difference. So, for example, when what's her name? Rivers, what's her first name again? Tara Rivers was thinking about running. My understanding is one of the reasons why she was convinced not to run is they had done polls in her constituency, independent polls. PPM had their people out there polling, and the polls showed that she was not polling well at all, that most people wanted to get her out, and they did not think that she'd done a good job in her position as education minister, or even finance, I think at one point, fell under her. So they were not impressed. And so the chances of her losing her seat were actually pretty high. And so they said, well, honey child, we're going to give you a sweetheart deal where basically you get a guaranteed job with one of the law firms. We'll broker that deal for you, and you basically get out of politics. So that's how that went down, honey child, because the polls demonstrated that she was not going to do well at all. Like, people didn't like her. They're like, she gots to go, honey child. So there you have it. So you can do your polling, but what you can't do is you certainly can't impersonate the elections office. You can't say that you're even your opponent's people. You have to be honest about who you are and what it is that you're out there doing. And in fact, what I would recommend to any organization that's out there polling, I would wholeheartedly recommend that you all provide identification for these people, because in this day and age, you don't want random people come knocking at your door. You don't know who they are. I'm not opening my door to any and everybody, honey child. I'm gonna be checking my cameras first and talking to you through the camera. And if I don't know you, no. You ain't getting my vote, and you ain't getting me to open the door. You're not even talking to me. I'm going to hit that mute button on my intercom so quick and tell you to keep it moving, honey child. So, that's what it is, right? So yes, be cautious. Somebody just said to me that they know for a fact that this was happening down Martin Drive and Martin Square, and they've identified two people in the community. They say one was a candidate, and that people have told me that they said they were doing it for election office. Now, you see, I have to wonder if they misunderstood what they were saying or they misspoke, because saying that you're doing it for the election office, like you're an election from that office, is different than saying you're doing because she's running for election office. You know what I mean? I could see how maybe if they're just saying it wrong, the people are definitely getting it wrong and stuff as well. So yeah. So I don't know, but y'all need to be careful how you say things and exactly what it is you're saying. Don't give that impression at all. So yeah, be careful, because y'all get yourselves in trouble. And if it is maliciously being done, then as the minister says, then obviously those individuals can't be trusted. And God knows we don't need more in there that we can't trust. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, honey child. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored beyond all measures, and giving thanks to God for another beautiful day.
Yes, wonderful. What's on your mind? Yes, ma'am.
is a hell of a thing. Fair is a hell of a thing. No one is going around telling no one that they're for the elections office. And for the record, I am one of them that is assisting Miss Carmen Maxfield with survey. And when I go to people's homes, I make sure and tell them I'm assisting Miss Carmen Maxfield, the new candidate who is running against the opposition in the upcoming election. That's the only time election word is being brought up. The opposition is trembling in his booth, and he is so keen and he's sure he gonna get back in. Well, if you're sure you gonna get back in, why all these tactics? Why are you behaving this way? Not keep your confidence and go about your business? Why is you stirring up the people? Huh? Everybody have a right to voice their opinion regarding politics. Everybody have a right to vote for who they want to vote for. You understand? So coming up with this kind of tactics show fail. And that you're scared of your opponent. Don't be like that. Take it straight on. You fair, you know you've done your best for the people. If you know within yourself that you have done your best for the people of this country, the people of your constituency, not scrambling at the last leg of the election to get something done, you should be good. You should be good and not worried and not feel intimidated or fear. So, lies don't bother me. Not calling my name is what bothers me, because if my name wasn't called directly in that voice. No, because then I'm ready. I am ready to face the public and go all out with all the dirt. You understand?
So you're saying that these people, and I mean, there's a number of people who have reported it. You're saying that these people are not telling the truth?
They're not telling the truth because, as I stated, I am one of them who is going around in Georgetown.
But you can only speak for yourself. You can't speak for what anybody else might be doing.
Let's clear the air. I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking for myself. I know what I've done. I know what I've said. And you understand. And we were all clean on what to say. We all did little skits and stuff like that on what to say. So I think it's just fair.
But you could understand that even if somebody was trained on what to say, it is possible that they might still say it. Like I said, you could say, "Oh, I'm here, for this candidate who's running for elections office," and maybe the way in which that was said.
I am the one down in Martin Drive, man. Me and that candidate is who have been down in Martin Drive. Nobody else. So I know what I'm saying. You understand? But what he needs to do is say, "Romelia, welcome to this, Romelia, welcome to that." Then I will show him who I am. Anyway, you have yourself a good day. I just wanted to clear the air.
Thank you, my dear. All right. So Miss Amelia said is she the only one down Martin Drive doing surveys? So she's saying don't call her name because then she got to show out. What a hot mess. Lord Jesus. Election time is here. The elections office has indicated that they've had multiple reports of this. So it's not just from Kenneth, I suppose. But again, if anyone is doing it, the position is very, very clear. You shouldn't be. Okay. And make sure it's clear. Because like I said, you could say, "Oh, this person's running for election office," like they're running, but I don't know. I don't know how it's happening. I don't even know if it is happening, but I know the elections office has said they've received several complaints about it. And someone else who's listening to the stream said that they have actually had people reach out to them who they themselves have said that it has been done to them firsthand. And so there you go. What a heat. Caramba. All right, honey child, just don't do it. Be careful what you're saying. That's the best advice I can give you. Everybody else good? Yes, sir. All right. That's it. Tomorrow, we got some special guests in the studio. Oh, let's read a few comments. My apologies. Anthony says, do we know if Kenneth will be campaigning or assisting his sister with her journey? We don't know this. He hasn't said anything in relation to this. So if I were to make an assumption, and you know what happens when you make those, I would say that he isn't. It's going to be every man for himself, every man and woman for themselves. What I do know about things in the background, no one from any group has mentioned her name as being someone that they're going to be working with in any way, shape, or form, including her own brother. So I think that honestly, you know, she's not really seen as any sort of a front runner in the campaign, and people want to work with people who they think will be running. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. You're about to shut down for today.
Yes, sir.
Good. I will start off, and I won't be long as usual. Our first enemy is what and who? You smart, you can tell me who's our first enemy.
Who's our first enemy?
Who is our first enemy?
Probably yourself.
Your tongue. Okay. The good book says there's life and death in the tongue. He that keeps his mouth shut is considered wise. A fool is known by the multitude of his words. There's so many different phrases I could repeat, but let's get on with it. Are you aware of what's happening in UK right now with the raping gang? They call them the grooming gang, but they has come under the raping gangs. What they do with these young bit of children?
No.
Okay, you need to get online to see what's happening with all of these Pakistanis and all. It's absolutely becomes a national disgrace what's happening there. So when somebody don't like you, they just don't like you. What, in my opinion, is nothing I can do about U.S. politics, but what Trump is doing about the deportation. They had the same plan to do in America what they're doing in England. The raping gangs, I mean, little girls like 11 years old and all. If you are not legally into that country, get your backside out. If I go to England, I am honored to go there as a visitor, even though I had my British citizenship. If I go to America, I'm not an American. I am still a Caymanian. I can only become an American citizen. These hooligans that have taken over the world with nothing done, I say, more power to Trump. Get them out of there. If you want to come in the legal way, and let's see what your background and your character is, right, Sandy. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Someone asking when one of the candidates is going to be coming forward and announcing. I wish I could tell you. Unapologetic says freedom of speech is freedom of speech. It can't be limited to media. Of course not. But there will be specific elements, because that was a specific element of my actual appeal in my actual case. So I expect the judges to talk about media specifically, because what the court did in my conviction and what the prosecution was allowed to do was to question whether or not I'm even media. They were comparing me to, well, she's certainly not the Compass. That's what Darlene Oku was able to say in her arguments, in her legal arguments. So all I'm saying is that will play heavily in their decision. But undoubtedly, I think what they said already is that this goes far beyond me. And there's a much broader constitutional issue here to be discussed and to be settled in law in the Cayman Islands. Good morning, caller.
Could you give Miss, good morning, Sandy.
Morning.
Could you give Miss Carrie Tibbetts a big kaboom for me, please?
Okay.
I've been working in office for 46 years.
Mm-hmm.
You give Carrie a kaboom, please.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, my dear. There you go. Island Pearl also who in the world is Carmen? Where was she all this time? And I'm a Caymanian, never even heard of her doing anything in the community, much less. So somebody says apparently she works closely in the church, at church activities and Girls Brigade. Seems like the CINP got Ramelia and the work. What work? Strong Wilt says Ramelia to mix up as a Christian. Media Warehouse, you good? The Night's Watchman says, does anyone who knows what is going on at the Cayman Islands Credit Bureau, their website seems to be down and calls their office does not go through? Yes, sir, we can answer this question for you. They're no longer in business. So they shut down last year. I want to say maybe close to the middle of the year. And I'll tell you how I know this. Well, people have asked the question as well. But one time I got a message from CUC that I had owed a bill. And I was like, me owing a bill? But it was from a retail store that I haven't had in, oh my God, when did I move out of Pasadena? Years. And so I'm like, I doubt that. I mean, everybody can make a mistake. Maybe you forgot to pay a bill, but I've never received any indication about it. And I cleared off all my bills because there was another tenant who took over the lease from me. And so, everything had to be cleared off and transferred and whatever. So I'm like, that's weird that this is now coming up all these years later. When I reached out to CEC, lo and behold, it was actually a mistake and they owed me money because they hadn't returned my deposit. But what had happened was they had given the file to this Cayman Islands Credit Bureau. They actually never reached out to me about it. And it was triggered, the reaching out to me was triggered because the files were returned once the CIDB or whatever they're called, Cayman Islands CICB, once they shut down, they were then handing back the files. And so CUC was then trying to chase up people from files that they had, reached out to. So, yeah, it's a hot mess. And I clarified it and got my refund. And I said, well, just put it on another bill, honey child, because I got to pay my bills. So they're no longer around. They shut down. I would have thought that they would have contacted their clients or make a general statement, but I don't think that they did. So obviously their corporate clients know that they're no longer in business, but I don't think anybody else knows that. So that's the short and long answer of it. They no longer exist. Okay. So they closed. I'd have to go back and check when they closed, but it was sometime last year. Okay. Risa says we would need a copy of works processing procedures to determine if and how they do background checks. I doubt they do, which is why the fingerprint system has never come to fruition. Well, they don't do background checks on a lot of different fronts, honey child. So yeah, even the documentation that is submitted to immigration in terms of like, oh, I claim I have this degree, they're not even checking any of that because people are slipping through the cracks. And that's the cold hard truth right there. They are slipping through their cracks, honey child. All right. Any other pressing questions I can answer before we end today's program? Okay. Yeah. Oh, let me just say this. This is one other thing I should mention, right? I think candidates should be careful who they get to endorse them. So naturally, they put committees together. And I think that you can be tarnished as a candidate by who you choose to be on your committee. It seems logical, seems like it should be common sense, but some of you are paying people to be your mouthpiece out in the community, and people don't like them, they don't trust them, they don't think that they're honest people. And you have to understand, by extension, that will translate into people making certain assertions about you as a candidate. You've already made a poor decision. Like Kathy Wilkes did this last time. Unfortunately, she had someone working, going door to door for her, although she was successful, who, was in court facing theft charges from the turtle farm. So folks, be a little bit smarter about who you're picking. Just because they have a large group, WhatsApp group, doesn't mean that people respect them. It doesn't mean that people like them. Doesn't mean that people believe anything that they say. And if these are the people that you're using as your mouthpiece to try to reach people in these communities because you haven't gone out there and done the legwork yourself, you're going to have a problem. Because their reputation in their own communities will end up tarnishing you as a candidate. That's all I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave that right there. Good morning, caller.
Hi, Sandra. Can you tell me, do you have any idea why we don't have a fingerprint machine?
What a hot mess. Shall I can ask again, but I know they had allocated, and I think they had spent $3 million, and that never happened with it. And then I can't remember what the final issue was. Let me try to refresh my memory by asking the powers that be in the civil service.
Thank you.
No problem. I'll get back to you guys on that. Let's do another quick update. Remember the gentleman who called from Jamaica about the lady owing him money, and she was supposed to pay it on the 20th, and he reached out the day of the 20th to say she was still kind of giving him the runaround that day and telling him after this she don't want to hear from him anymore. And well, the good news is he was paid his money. So CMR was able to help him get his money back. And hopefully that's the end of that. Jamaicans, Hondurans, I don't care where you're from. Stop giving people money to take out permits for you, claiming that they have companies. They don't have no companies. You guys are going to be hoodwinked. And when you lose your money, you be running to CMR to try and help you, but you are part and parcel of the problem. Because y'all claiming ignorance and, I didn't know this, how it didn't work. Ask the questions before you hand over your money. Okay? All this work permit mix up, we need to clamp down on this shit. Quick too. I'm just saying. Shaka says, Auntie, have you been keeping your finger on the pulse of the AI upset? Yes, honey child. You know I'm watching it. Nvidia just dropped their stock, dropped 600 billion or something ridiculous, the biggest drop ever in the history of any company, because the Chinese, they coming in hard with AI thing. Oh my God. Deep seek shock. If you're in the tech world, everybody's talking about it. Aye. I mean, you got to watch the Chinese though, because next thing you know, they sneak in a little something in the AI, and only God knows it'll really be taking over the world. But yes, the chip market, they say now that they're starting to rebound a little bit today, but crypto miners are in the mix. It's a mess, but it is from a tech perspective, it is very, very interesting how the world can be uprooted by new tech developments. And in the world of AI, there's so much that's happening. And so this whole deep Seek news took everybody by surprise. But basically, DeepSeek AI, they're saying, is a game changer and now available. Like I said, the problem with the Chinese is they always be trying to do some backdoor-ish, sneaking in little things. So there's always caution of using Chinese-based products because, you know, the government, yeah, they'll do stuff to be trying to steal your stuff and whatever. So, yeah, you might still want to stick with ChatGTP until we find out how this is all going to fall out. But yeah, Shaka, I'm paying attention and watching very, very carefully. The embezzlement case, didn't they get convicted already? I'll have to double check, but I kind of think they might have been convicted already. I'll double check, Anthony. I can't quite remember. Child, there be so many cases and so many people stealing. Oh, I can't even keep up. Cortez says a fingerprint machine is not a simple process. You need to be able to link with Interpol and the FBI database. Then why did we spend $3 million? Lord Jesus. I don't know. All right. Yep. That's it. He said putting in the machine isn't a problem. It's getting the information. And let's be honest. A lot of criminals, they come here. They don't necessarily have a conviction anywhere else. So that's where it becomes difficult because you expect that, you know, they're roving criminals who have a fingerprint in some system. Chances are they probably don't, as we can see. They're hoodwinking us. All right. Jason says, happy Wednesday to my fellow riffraffs. Yes, honey, child. Y'all have a beautiful day. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We got some special guests, so make sure you tune in early. Political guests coming into the studio. Whoop, whoop. I'm going to hear what they got to say. All right, here's a little word from some of our corporate sponsors. They help to pay the bills around here. Big shout out to Tim Hortons.
Great news, K-Man! Tim Hortons is finally open and ready to serve you. Start your day right with our delicious all-day breakfast or grab a box of our famous Timbits and a dozen donuts for a sweet treat. Need a quick pick-me-up? Swing by our drive-thru for your favorite espresso drink anytime. We're open weekdays from 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. on the weekends, closing 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, with 2 entrances at the Shamrock Road Roundabout in Red Bay. It's time for Tim's.
Ocean Ridge Heights offers an amazing opportunity to own a piece of land in idyllic Cayman Brac, right on the bluff, starting from $80,000. Located in a quiet residential area with high elevation, these lots are ideal for a future home or investment property and are sure to go fast. Cayman Brac offers a laid-back lifestyle, amazing pristine diving, limestone caves, diverse flora, along with amazing wildlife. Inquire about the owner financing options so that you can secure your piece of paradise today. With only a few lots remaining, these are sure to go before you know it. Contact Crichton Properties today on 345-949-5250 or info@crichtonproperties.com.
Recover Personal Injury Attorneys, helping injured people get what they deserve. Did you know that insurance companies have lawyers that represent their interests? Before signing and accepting any settlement, know your rights. Call us today for a free consultation at 924-9999. That's 924-9999. Recover. Your personal injury attorneys are on standby to assist.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.